hey, Wally, Mr. Longo, there's opportunity here. Do you think that would make you feel more safe, more comfortable migrating all the way from the, like the southern parts of the United States to a northern city like Milwaukee? What do you think about that? Definitely. Johnny, you're kind of nodding. This dynamic here was a big driver of during World War I. If I can go hero, there's jobs up here, man. I think you can be, I think bring your family up here. You can make, you're making 5 cents a day. Down south, you can make 10 up north. That's a pretty good thing for you, right?
Sure.
So wartime opportunities continues to draw people to big cities like we just talked about: Chicago, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, and New York. Who wants to read for me, just so we're all on the same page? What does it mean to migrate before we move ahead? Let's understand what this means. We've talked about it a little bit before. Hero.
Like, you want me to read the definition?
Sure, read the definition.
Migration, movement from one part of something to another, relocating, creates new relationships and new issues.
Yeah. So it's this idea of relocating, which, after our intro kind of discussion, creates new relationships between community members and has the potential for new issues. You guys are going to study some of those in a minute here. That's the beginning context to the Great Migration. Are there any questions about that? Let's move to Milwaukee then. It's important to note that the Great Migration largely followed the railroad tracks to industrial cities like, who said industrial cities? Phil. To Chicago, Cleveland, Detroit, and Milwaukee. Before World War II, so we're jumping ahead a few years here, African Americans constituted just 1.5% of Milwaukee's population. By 1950, about 30 to 40 years into this event, that number rises to 3.5%. But this increase is illustrative of now, during World War II, the growing presence of the African American community in Milwaukee starts to boom. It's important to understand that life remained difficult for African Americans at the onset of the Great Migration. For reasons like banks refusing to give like home loans. We talked about that a little bit last time. Talk about it more next lesson. They refuse to give home loans outside of certain boundaries, and societal prejudice forces African Americans to be confined to one area, one territory, and that was the Bronzeville neighborhood in Milwaukee. So just to recap real quick, the beginning of the Great Migration, the context to it, and then it extends to World War II and the World War II era in the 1940s and 50s, and that's when Milwaukee really starts to see this influx of African American populations to the Bronzeville neighborhood on the north side of the city. Are there any questions about the context, background information to the Great Migration? with that context in mind, we need to figure out specifically why people left and what drew people north. And to do that in groups, you're going to do some primary source document analysis. So I need everybody at this point put the document analysis sheet, the photo image analysis sheet with the questions, the guiding questions that we are going to focus on. Put this on your desk, kind of like somewhere where you can see it, okay? Everybody take this out. So in groups, your job is this. In the next 6 slides, you're going to see 6 primary and secondary documents. It's a variety of things, from photos to videos to some written language. Each document demonstrates some aspect of life for Black people living in the South at the time. You must use the documents to create a short paragraph to answer this essential question. Why did African Americans leave the South to come north? And you must use at least 2 of the sources to support your answer. I'm going to show you the sources real quick so you have an idea of what you're going to be looking at. For each source, there's like a guiding question to help you focus your analysis. Here's source number 1. Notice the language at the top, guiding question in the middle, and then the map indicates 2 specific populations of people. After reading the information, determine where are you most safe. Here's source 2. We talked about Jim Crow laws in the South. Source 3 is a newspaper ad. You guys probably haven't seen many of these, but in the before like Indeed and before like Amazon and before online platforms to find jobs, people would post jobs in the paper. This is a job posting. Source 4 is an image from a factory. Source 5 is a quote. And source 6 is a video. For 10 points, and you have the rest of the class to do this, you will need to use those primary documents and the image analysis document questions to answer the following. Describe why African Americans migrated north. What drew people north? Your answer must be in 5 to 7 sentences. Are there any questions about that? For those of you who don't want to create a document, you have the opportunity to use the slides. There's a text box for you, directly following the instructions where you can write. I'm going to check this in before we discuss with the last like 5-10 minutes left in class. You may work in your groups. Each of your answers should be the same if you work in a group. What time is it right now?
8:35.
8:35, okay. You guys have about 25 minutes or so to do this. We'll stop at 9 o'clock and discuss as a class.
We have a Spanish test today?
What?
We have a Spanish test today?
We do?
Yes.
We do.
Bro.
Vocabulary.
I wasn't even here.
It's easy. It's okay, you'll be fine. You'll pass. At least a D is a passing grade. That's fine.
Good.
Good. Anybody over here?
Any questions right now?
Each bone crack? Yeah, like, so your fingers, your toes.
You're skipping in this side, and then like you bake
You all right?
up, and you turn this side, and then like hold your bones crack.
Do the first stacking together so you guys can see it, okay? You see on the board? Take this out then.
My eyes burn.
Some idea of like a deeper meaning for analysis or focus to this. See, there's a series of questions about certain things.
So Longo, can I go to that right there?
Sure. Right. I want you guys to know you're observing, listening, and what's happening. What's the event, the action, what's the there's lynchings, what else? That's all the represent. Others. And what they do. So if you're one of those dots, use that as evidence. Why does that motivate you? Where is it safe for you?
Yeah, I still have the black cap. I have to refill it though soon.
Away from that.
I'm like
Right.
all three tops.
One of the things that people don't necessarily think about that I want you to think about is if you were an African American living in the South at this time, and let's say you knew somebody who was one of those dots, right? How would you feel?
I hate you.
Let's say, right? Would that be reason enough
Okay.
for lock it up?
Oh, really?
I can do the first.
Oh, really?
Or you can do the first one.
I know, I wonder if Mr. Longo has seen the
Like,
video on
live your
YouTube.
life.
The one of you watching for it.
So as you're kind of like developing
I'm
this
gonna send
like
him the link.
primary source analysis, think about how like what's going
No,
on
they play
with
Saturday.
these actions, how they impact or affect actions in the future, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense?
I'm not even gonna be able to watch the game because we have so much.
So that's what we want, you know that it because of what happened, because of what was the cause.
You did like
Lynchings.
Well,
What
not
happened?
really near, but we were closer.
It's like 15 minutes away.
It's
not like 20 minutes for you.
Yeah, okay, so that's one piece of evidence that describes, right? Why these communities were moving, correct? Does that make sense? Yeah. Use your sheet to observe and reflect in order to get kind of like a deeper view of these photos, right?
Hmm? I'm trying to make things work. Yeah. And then it's inside of it. Okay.